Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Corbin Pearson. I'm an IFPA professional bodybuilder, and I'm making this video to give you guys just some basic tips on the mandatory poses and all that. Posing is an extremely important and oftentimes overlooked aspect of bodybuilding, so hopefully this video can kind of give you guys just some basic tips on just kind of tweaking some poses to pull out more of your strengths and hide some more of your weaknesses and all that good stuff. So yeah, little weird that I'm introducing myself when I'm like half naked, but you know, it's bodybuilding, you know, it is what it is. It's part of the sport, you know. So yeah, first things first, I'll just say that my last show I did was about a month ago, which was my IFPA pro debut in Minnesota. So I'm not exactly in stage condition right now. While I am staying pretty lean, as I'm only, you know, a few pounds above my stage weight, I'm definitely not as sharp as I usually am, you know, when I actually compete and I'm on stage and all that. So yeah, now that that's out of the way, let's just not waste any more time and get into it. I'll kind of just run through the quarter turns first. This video will kind of assume that you have a basic understanding of what poses to actually do, but more or less this will just kind of help you hit those in a more optimal or favorable fashion. And I will say again, before we start, well, my posing isn't bad. I'm by no means a perfect or flawless poser. You know, many bodybuilders would be probably far more qualified than I am to make this posing instructional video, but I haven't really seen much bodybuilding posing tips videos on YouTube, so figured someone had to take the liberty of doing it. And while my posing isn't perfect, I think that I can at least provide some like small tips and advice for people kind of just getting started out with bodybuilding and learning how to pose in general. All right, so the quarter turns here. I'll just kind of run through them real quick to kind of show you guys what they even look like. So you always start in the front relaxed, which is ironic because you're anything but relaxed. You're flexing every single muscle in your body. You'll quarter turn to the right. Quarter turn to the right again for the back side. Quarter turn to the right again. And then go back to the front. Okay, so the mandatory or the quarter turns, in my opinion, are by far the most important poses because first of all, you start off with these poses, so it's the first impression that the judges actually see you. And not only that, you basically hit the quarter turn in between every single other pose. So for example, you know, after you do your initial quarter turns and all that, you'll go back to your front relaxed position, and then they'll call out front lat spread, and then you transition from your front relax, hit your front lat spread. Once that's finished, they'll say relax. You transition back to your front relax. And it's the same thing with any other pose from the front, any other pose from the side. You know, you'll always transition back to that relaxed pose in between each other mandatory pose. So statistically, you actually do hit the quarter turns more often than any other pose. So the judges are seeing you in those poses kind of the most often, really. So it's definitely good to practice on those a lot. Obviously, you need to practice on all the mandatories, but if there's one stuff you want to really focus on and start with, it's definitely the quarter turns. So with that, with any pose from the front, you always want to start from the ground up. You know, it's very easy to kind of get your upper body in a position of flexing, but completely forget to flex the quads or hamstrings or something. So to kind of help offset that, always start from the ground up. Flex your legs first, Make sure those are nice and tight. And then transition into your pose from the upper body. I don't know if you can really see in the video. I'll kind of scoot back a bit, but for all front pose as well, you'll want your legs placed narrow, like pretty close to each other as far as like your feet placement and all that. And you'll always want the feet and toes kind of pointed out a bit to kind of bring out some more of your quad sweep or whatever. You can probably see a difference just if I'm completely straight on now compared to if I open up a bit. You know, while my leg's not actually getting bigger, the illusion of the quad sweep coming out more gives that illusion of my legs actually looking a little bit bigger and just having more, overall width. So you can just tell a difference between straight and then opening up. And then by having your feet placed close together, that narrows the gap, the space between your legs, which also helps with the illusion of just having thicker quads or thicker legs than you actually might have. So if you really space out your legs, while you may think that's kind of helping with more of the X frame or V taper or something, it's actually just kind of giving you the illusion of having smaller legs. By having more space and more gap in between your legs, it just kind of gives off that, I've said the illusion like 20 times now, but it just gives off that illusion of just, not being quite as big or thick. So if you move them a little closer, you narrow that gap and your legs look a little bit thicker in result, just because they're kind of closer together and there's not much space, widening all that out. So another thing with the legs is, in order to bring out sartorius a bit, you can, instead of just being completely straight up, you can sit back on the hips a little bit. So that would kind of look like going from this position to this position, kind of just like you're sitting in an invisible chair a little bit. So it kind of looks weird from a side angle as opposed to like this, but usually when you do sit back a little bit, it will bring out a little bit more the definition in your upper legs and all that. And it kind of really just depends on the specific person, their frame, the shape of their legs. Some people may actually look a little bit better if they stand straighter up. But in my experience, I find that most people do usually show a little bit more definition up in the upper leg region if they kind of sit back a little bit. But you don't want to overdo it either. Some people can really overdo it. I'm talking something like that, which is completely unnecessary. You don't need to sit back that much. But just kind of experiment around with it, see what works better, see what kind of looks best for you, and kind of just make some tweaks from there. Okay, so enough with the legs. From that, the first front pose you'll do besides the front relax is the front lat spread. So just keep in mind all the tips I gave about the legs. That's gonna be the same for all these front poses here. So front lat spread here. There's a couple different hand placements you can do. Some people like to kind of thumb their hand, or use like their thumbs as like a hook and kind of grab their waist with it. Other people just literally ball up their fist, stick it in to their waist, and then really do it like that. There's really no right or wrong way. Once again, it's just going to depend on your frame, your shape. Basically, anything with posing is very individualized. What may look good for someone may not look good for someone else. So just keep in mind these are basic rules of thumb and all that. I personally look a little bit better with the fisted approach as opposed to the hook. So that's kind of what I go with. If you have a good vacuum, this is definitely a good pose to do the vacuum in. If you don't have that good of a vacuum, or if you have a really symmetrical, defined six-pack with great ab development and all that, then this could be a pose that you could just crunch down on your abs instead of doing the vacuum. Once again, experiment yourself, kind of see what works best. but here's what it should look like roughly. Okay. Next, so after that you'll go right into your front relaxed again, and then they'll call front double bicep. Usually will be that next pose. So with that, similar leg placement. You can stick out the right quad or left quad a little bit further. If you want. Some people kind of give more of that aesthetic kind of like leg placement with it. I just like doing the same that I do for the front relax and front lat spread, just because I know it makes my legs look the biggest and most defined. I'm not really up on stage trying to like pull off super aesthetic poses. I'm just trying to pull off the best poses I can from a judging standpoint and all that. So with that in mind, do it like that, and then front double bicep. It's a pretty self-explanatory pose. I'm sure a lot of you practiced this, years before you even started getting interested in bodybuilding, just like mess around in the mirror and all that. So yeah, if you have a good vacuum, bust it out here. Maybe rotate a little bit, show the judges. And yeah, if you have a really good six-pack again, you may be able to crunch down on that and show. But in my opinion, the vacuum looks better for most people in this pose, because it makes your waist smaller and makes your lats kind of appear wider, and overall just kind of gives a better V-taper impression and all that. Okay, so after that, that's it for the front poses for the first time till you go back around and do the most muscular and abs. We'll get to that in a bit. Next is we'll do the side poses. So you do quarter turn to the right, and with this, it'll vary with people, but for me, I always personally have my front foot just a little bit ahead of my back foot. I'm trying to back up so you guys can see it. So it's not much ahead of it, like just that much or so, and then I'll slightly twist my toe from being straight on and kind of turn it in a little bit, just like that, to kind of show off a little bit more of the hamstring definition there in the back. And with this, same thing with the front poses. Always start from the ground up. Flex your hams, flex your glutes. If you have really good glutes, this is one that you really want to keep them tied in to kind of show the striations and lines and all that. So you start from the ground up, and then with that backside arm, you want to press up against your backside chest to bring out some more striations, definition, and all that. And with your other arm, with your front side arm, kind of just experiment around to find the right angle. I will admit my side quarter turns are not my best poses, so take any tips I'm giving in this pose with a grain of salt, as I have a lot of work to do myself. But with this, you do want to open up, keep your chest high. You don't want to get too crunch forward or lean too far forward and all that. Chest high, open up, and really turn. You don't want to close yourself off. The goal is to make yourself look as wide as possible without making it look like you're overly trying to make yourself look wide as possible, if that kind of makes sense. So you do want to open up, keep the abs tight, obliques tight. And that's basically that. Next, we'll do the side chest. It'll be either your first side pose, either that or side tricep. Usually it's chest though. So with that, I will put my front foot, I'll back up a little bit. I'll put my front foot near the back part of my back foot. I'll press up this hamstring against my back leg to kind of really pull out some extra mass and definition there. You can tell the difference if I'm just going like this, not pressing up anything, compared to really pressing up against my back leg. That brings out a lot more definition, a lot more size, and kind of can really put on some extra pounds of muscle without actually putting on extra pounds of muscle. So it can kind of help you hang with some guys that may have more mass in that area just due to your posing alone. I kind of do the same thing myself really. So with that, you have the leg placement, and then your arm placement. You know, you kind of want to have like a perpendicular line with your arms. You know, you don't want to get too far forward again, or maybe too opened up. It's all about finding that nice balance, keeping your chest high, opening up. You don't want to open up too much, but you don't want to be too closed off either. You know, you want to open up a bit so they can see basically a front view of your chest, your back chest, and your arms and shoulders. Okay. Side tricep, same concept. With the legs at least, and then with the arms, you know, I will usually grab my wrist with my other arm and just really pull down, and then kind of open up that shoulder a bit to kind of give you some more width. And once again, this is one of my weaker poses for sure, so my posing is far from perfect there. I have a lot of work to do myself, but you know, there's just some basic tips to kind of work on and kind of further improve and tweak from there. All right, back poses now. So with back poses, same thing as the front. Always start from the ground up, flexing your hams, glutes. You know, if you really don't have striated glutes, it may not be as important, you know, but if you're really bringing the conditioning, the A-game conditioning and all that, you want to keep your glutes flexed and hams flexed as tight as possible. You should keep them flexed tight regardless, but yeah, if you really have like impressive definition from back there, definitely flex it as hard as you can. That'll really impress the judges, just because hamstring glute conditioning is kind of the epitome of conditioning in a way for most people and all that. You know, if you're really shredded from the glutes and hams, it means you really did your homework and basically killed your prep in all aspects and just got down to the body fat level that you really need to be at. So judges are definitely impressed with that hamstrings and glutes definition. But it is bodybuilding at the end of the day. Conditioning isn't everything, but you know, it is a part of the overall package. So with this, same concept of having your legs close together, feet pointed out a little bit to kind of give that illusion of more of a quad sweep and all that. So don't go like that, but a little bit more opened up, and then flex the glutes, flex the hams. And then similar to the front relaxed position, elbows down. And then another thing I kind of just reminded myself of, with the back relaxed and the front relaxed position, you know, you want to have your forearms pointed down to an extent. I see a lot of people making the mistake of kind of having their arms like way up like this, which kind of just looks awkward and kind of takes away from the impressiveness of your V-taper and all that. But if you have your elbows at the same level but forearms pointed down, it really adds a more symmetrical look, as opposed to, and same thing for back poses and all that, you know. So you don't want to be like this, but that. And I will say my back is my weakest pose, or my weakest body part as far as muscular development and all that. So probably not the most impressive looking from the backside, but it is what it is. So back to the bicep next. Usually they'll ask you to spike your right calf. So with that, you'll stick your right leg out a bit. Really flex that calf. Always keep the hamstrings and glutes flexed as always. Keep the legs pointed out. And then I like to scrunch back first, show the definition, and then open up. So with the back pose, you'll want to lean back a bit because the judges are below you. You know, you're on a stage, they're kind of like below you, so you do want to lean back a bit to show them that definition. If you're too far tall, you know, you may hide some of that, but if you lean too far back as well, then you're going to hide even more. So it's really about finding that nice balance, as far as, you know, not being too far back, not being too far forward. That really just comes with practice, experimentation. So kind of just, you know, toy around with it in front of a mirror, take pictures with self timer, have a friend take pics. Really just kind of work to find that nice balance there. And you do want to open up to an extent. You don't want to get too far back and try to scrunch back. A lot of people make that mistake. They think when they like scrunch their backs more, they show more definition. While maybe true to an extent, you're also hiding a lot of that width. Whereas if you're truly lean enough in a stage condition, it's not going to matter. Even if you do open up more, you'll be so ripped and defined that you'll still have crazy amounts of definition showing, even if you are going for a wider approach. I'll kind of show you from this angle because I know it's kind of hard to tell from the backside. And to get the bicep showing a little bit more in the back double by, really kind of extend the forearm back a bit instead of having more like this. If you extend it back a little bit, that'll usually kind of give more of the peaks, more of a visibility there. So going like this to that, you can usually bring out a little bit more peak. It's kind of a little small tip there. Rear lat spread here. Usually they'll ask you to spike your left calf. This is a hard pose for me. I'll be honest, I'll probably look a little awkward, but same concept. Toes pointed out, feet spaced apart. With this, I recommend using the hook approach, like you could for the front lat spread, but with this, I really recommend the hook approach over the front, just because it can kind of allow you to kind of pull up on your waist and fat a little bit. I mean, you really shouldn't have fat there if you're on stage, but yeah, it allows you to pull up on your waist and skin, which it kind of gives you, which, you know, will make your waist look wider, or I mean not wider, narrower. So going like this, you know, if you pull up on it, you can kind of just pull up some of the skin, making it look wider and all that. And same concept, you don't want to lean too far back, too far forward. For the elbow alignment and placement, I like to have it kind of like parallel with your body to an extent, you know. So some people can kind of try to get too wide and get too far forward or not far back enough, you know. So I'd say have it pretty much in line with your body, at least as a starting point. See how that looks, and then kind of make some tweaking adjustments based off that. Okay. So then after that, you go to the right poses. You do the same side chest, side tricep, and all that. Same thing you just did for the other side. And then after that, you'll go back to the front pose. You'll do your front relaxed again. Then they'll call for ab thigh, and with this one, I think they'll ask you to. I think they usually ask you to flex your best leg or something. I usually flex my right because it's got a little bit more mass to it. And if you have a vacuum in this pose, I always recommend starting off the pose with the vacuum for the first 3, 4, 5 seconds to show the judges that you have the capabilities to pull it off and all that. You know, having a small waist and good vacuum is a very, I guess, kind of a rare. It's definitely more rare these days in bodybuilding than it used to be, especially on the NPC, IFBB scene. You know, natural bodybuilding scene's different. You know, there's a lot more smaller waists and stuff there. But still, if you have a vacuum, show it. So like this, I'll kind of give you an example of what I do with it. We'll call out that ab thigh. I'll start. So see how I started with the vacuum for like 5 seconds? Show the judges I could do it, and then I crunched down, blew out the air and crunched down on the abs to actually hit the pose that they were calling. You know, they do call for an ab thigh pose, not a vacuum. So don't hit the vacuum the whole time if you do, but at least show that you can, if you can at least. You know, if you have like a super amazing six-pack, super defined, super symmetrical, then you may just say, screw the vacuum and focus on that the entire time. But if you're like me and your vacuum's a little bit more impressive than your actual abs, then I think it's good to start with that at least, but just an individual basis, of course. All right, and then after that, this is the last pose here. They'll call the most muscular. Usually they give you your choice of either crab most muscular or hands claps most muscular. There's really no right or wrong pose. You know, the crab will usually show more of that freak factor, more of that muscularity, whereas the hands clasped will show more symmetry, proportion, at the same time while showing your muscularity and conditioning and all that. I personally don't hit a crab because I can't. Like, my traps literally don't flex that way at all. Like, I've tried countless times for like close to a decade and I just can't do a crab like at all. So I always stick with the hands clasped. Really shows off the symmetry and all that. So same leg placement, legs pointed out a bit. And just really with this, flex everything as hard as you can. You know, if you're leaning up, this should really show off the chest striations, shoulder striations, leg cuts, everything really. I usually recommend just kind of splitting your hands like this. That way you have both your palms are opened up to kind of give more of the symmetry on both biceps there. You know, if you kind of go like this or like this, while that could look good for some people, it can kind of mess the symmetry up a little bit, because by doing this you have one arm opened up, which opens up that bicep more, and the other one's not, which kind of closes off that bicep. So you notice the difference between going like this with my wrist compared to this, like, or this compared to that. You know, so it just shows off your bicep more. Usually when you go like this, and just it makes both arms look the same on both sides, as opposed to having one opened up more, or one opened up more and one closed off. So once again, keep everything tight as possible. Alright guys, that's pretty much that. I could have gotten into a lot more depth and detail and all that, but I'm pretty sure I've been rambling far too long now. This video is probably already longer than I expected it to be. Sorry, I'm a little bit out of breath now. I've been practicing my posing, but yeah, this video is a little bit longer than I kind of liked it to be, but kind of just got to rambling on. So I hope you guys found some good tips out of this. If you want to see like any future videos about just, you know, maybe a posing specific video on just the side poses or the front poses or the quarter turns and all that, if you want more specific detail on that, leave comments below. You know, I'd be happy to do a more specific video on certain poses if there's, you know, if people are really having a hard time with like certain ones, like, you know, the back poses are difficult, side poses and all that. So yeah, leave comments below guys if you want to see anything like that in the future. And that's pretty much that. I'll have some more videos out soon, workout videos, informational videos, any topics you want to see me cover in the future as well, like reverse dieting, how long someone should prep for a show, peak week, any stuff like that. If you guys want to see videos on that, just once again, leave comments below, and I'll be sure enough to get back to them eventually. All right, thanks for watching, guys. Till next time.